to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast where we transform adversities into triumph, illuminate the extraordinary potential within all of us. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, a resilience coach, a ultra marathoner, and a firm believer in your next most powerful chapter. This podcast is a companion to my upcoming book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset, coming spring 2025. Here we amplify stories of hope, perseverance, and success to inspire your journey. Today's guest, what can I say? When I was looking at her background, one of the key phrases that came up was from ice to inferno. People meet Janine Charron. She, before I can get more into Janine, imagine facing down divorce, bankruptcy, breast cancer, all while refusing to let life extinguish your fire. Janine is a former pro hockey powerhouse. She did not just survive, as she says, she rode back. Janine, welcome to Resilience Plus Rise.
Awesome. Thank you. Happy to be here. I
It's
love
such
the
a
work that you're doing. So, congratulations. I'm excited for you and your book.
thank you, Janine. Thank you so very much. So, Janine, in the short blurb that I mentioned, is that life pushed you down.
Hmm.
You were a hockey player, or you were a pro hockey player, and then life changed after the game, or somewhere on that particular time. But you, rather than being the victim and the martyr, you chose another way. So, if you could just take us through the journey, what happened, what pivoted? Because for me, when I'm talking about resilience, when I'm talking about the purpose, what I say is that from there is the deepest of pain that creates the strongest of our purposes. And when I read about your T.I.G.E.R method, or who you are, in fact, guys, I'll be putting out Janine's contact information, her websites. Do spend some time. It is worth your time just to spend few minutes looking through it. It's an amazing learning experience. But what was that pain which or that made you who you are now?
I believe I always had that inner feeling that I was always made for more. And it wasn't from a place of ego. It was, I feel like life is like a dance. And you can have this an awareness and a knowing and a feeling, but because we sacrifice our authenticity for attachment as young humans, because we need to be liked or that need to fit in, or we need our parents to take care of us, we're constantly in this inner battle, I find, between this is who I really am, this is who I want to be, but I also want to be accepted by you and liked by you, and I want to fit in with you. So we're constantly making all these decisions along our journey. And I was very lucky to be gifted in athletics, and athletics carried me through life, and it carried me for a long time. It actually carried me to the fact that I ignored some of the work that I needed to do because I could get away with, oh, I'll just sign up for a marathon, or oh, I'll just up for a triathlon. And that gave me my internal validation that, oh, I'm good enough, I can do this. And then I got the external pat on the back. And so growing up, I mean, I played every sport except for basketball, and then ended up getting a full scholarship to the University of New Hampshire. Was assistant captain, made the dean's list. Life was good. Things were falling into place. I felt like I was making it, and moved to Texas. Was with a gentleman at that time, and life just seemed like it was about to just crack wide open. And then, just like the direction of a hockey game or any sporting event can change in an instant, so did my life. And then the next decade was divorce, bankruptcy, and breast cancer. Um, and I'm grateful for every single part of it. Like, I wouldn't be able to have these conversations that I'm invited on with you. I wouldn't be able to stand up on a stage in front of thousands of people and share my gifts, because without having gone through all of this, and I really want to invite people to run towards an uncertainty, look at it as an opportunity to grow and crack yourself wide open. Because at force, when things are good, we don't assess. We like to ride the wave. I mean, why change what's working, right? And then when we are in a place of despair, uncertainty, we feel like life's over, all of a sudden we get really honest really fast, and we vow we're going to make changes, and we vow. But I do believe it was until I got breast cancer where it really was like, well, I'm not going to wait to bring my gifts to the world. If I have a limited amount of time left, it's time to shit or get off the pot. Sorry for swearing. uh, so for me, that was a gift. Like I always tell people, don't go through divorce, bankruptcy, and breast cancer to be as stubborn as I was, not to invest in the work. And I had a very deep understanding of this type of work. It's the whole, you can know what to do, but it's doing it right. And I had to go through my journey, and I had a lot of inner demons from my childhood, just from I had a very strict father growing up. And so those external words became my internal words. So I had a lot of rewriting that internal script. I still have to catch myself where I want to go into that balls to the wall athlete, that when I need to accomplish something and I have to catch myself and pattern interrupt and be like, okay, easy, Tiger, easy, come back down. You actually can just keep doing what you're doing and not have to go into this crazy state of doing for validation or to get different work that I would like to achieve, or forcing conversations or forcing a reply, or like, again, I can really see where my dominating self takes over and tries to force instead of sitting in and trusting in the state of flow, which everything that I've ever wanted has come to me when I did the work. I did the work, I put in the reps. So now I'm letting life meet me where I'm at, right? Like a lot of times can't be upset for the work you didn't do, for the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. I've always loved that quote. I don't know who's ever said it, but that quote always stuck with me. And I have such a love for the underdog. And like I'll never make fun of anyone that's put in the work at all. Ever, ever, ever. You give me effort, I'll give you my heart and soul, because I know what it's like to put in the reps and not know where it's going. And it wasn't until breast cancer, the real breath, like that one really scared me, that it forced me to get intentional with my time, intentional in my action. And then the real results came.
Wow, that was that's quite a beautiful. I mean, I won't say beautiful, but quite okay. From your term, a dramatic start.
Mhm.
So you had just gone through a divorce, you had gone through a bankruptcy, and then suddenly, bam, the breast cancer came in. What were the points that pivoted you towards? Was it you were just sitting down and thinking about life? And I loved the fact that life was, when you took on to the ownership, that life was not happening to you but for you.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
what were the elements, Janine, at that point of time that made you pivot? I mean, you were, from what I've known,
Curious.
is that you were a go-getter.
Mhm.
You had a goal-oriented mentality,
Mhm.
whether it is run or hitting a shot or any other game that you're playing. You know that what that was defined.
Yeah.
But when life dribbles you with the two or three major incidents as this,
Well, I
were
think
there something?
I think a
Mm.
lot about my sports background. I mean, one more rep. The coach asks you to do 10, I'll do 11. I'm in the gym. I literally have I see friends there, they say they're going to do 30 minutes, they get off at 25. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't walk by a piece of garbage without picking it up. I physically, I'm like, if I don't do it, someone else, why am I leaving that for someone else? So, um, I've I feel like I honed that skill set through my athletics, which was a
Okay,
beautiful lesson that it taught me, the power of showing up for myself, even when I was exhausted and wanted to throw up. It's like one more rep. So that work ethic was ingrained in me at a young age, and I loved it.
okay.
And so I could tap into it when I needed it. But what I was tapping into incorrectly was when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I couldn't call on my athleticism. That was my bag of tricks that I figured out. This was my way to get through a majority of things. This one forced me to go in, not out. So
Mhm.
meditation, walking, writing, questioning, getting curious when I'm triggered and who I'm around and the environments that I've allowed myself to be on autopilot. And that is how I started to step into this new version of myself. I knew I wasn't that same girl anymore, but I missed her because she was just full of drive and passion and determination and like simple joy. Like I just loved life. I really had, a lot of people were like, you're naive, rose colored glasses. But when I think back, I'm like, I'd rather go through life like that than be aware of sometimes of all the negativity. So that was okay. But there was a difference between like being an optimist versus being a realist. And I do believe I've made that transition in my headspace up to the realist. I'm still wildly passionate, but I don't get lost in the cloak of optimism, if that makes sense to
Mhm.
you. And because I don't, it doesn't hijack my mind, and I'm able to go back to, okay, what actions, this is what I want to, this is the where I want to move the needle. Where am I lying to myself or being, where do I need to be honest in my dealings in terms of, let's say for example, fitness. I had 6 surgeries, put on like 45 extra pounds. I really wanted to lose weight, but my actions and what I was eating was very out of alignment with the goals that I said I was seeking after my breast cancer, right? So that's a simple one for a lot of people to understand. We want to drop some weight, but yet we're eating bonbons on the couch for 5 hours because it's so much fun.
It is. It is. I cannot deny on that. Whether it's for me, it is usually at times a handful of chips because salt is something which I crave on, and that gives me that. But
Yeah.
now I've taken a step back.
Yeah. So the beauty of the gift of breast cancer was introspection and reflection. And I lost sight of, I lost track. I got out of touch with myself. I was living outside of myself and not trusting. You hear everybody say, all you need is inside and da da da. And, it was like, I didn't, until I had to cultivate and nurture that relationship with myself, I was disconnected from her. And I really do talk to the many faces of Janine. It's not, I'm not crazy. I like their anger or different emotions will come up and it's like, oh, hey girl, how's it going? Well, we're not driving the bus. You can have a seat on my bus, but you're not going to drive the actions. And I was letting those emotions drive my actions. So I was able to become more self-aware in the process of all the um, unfavorable events that were taking place in my life.
Wonderful. So over here, life gave you many lessons.
And it still does.
It still does. Okay.
I like to learn the hard way, Thomas.
Okay. Fair enough. But there is a statement which says, "When the student is ready, the master will appear."
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in this element that you are going through and you realize there has to be a shift,
Mm,
there would have been the environment, there would have been people, there would have been music, books, something which would have allowed your mindset. Of course, when you were having the surgery and going through the tumulus point of what's happening to me, there would have been some things which I would have been there that would have told you something more, something more. Were there people or were there books or were there some insights that made you, of course, you, as I mentioned, you are a go-getter, but what I always believe is that we all are angels with one wing. When we hold another, that's when we fly higher.
mm. I love that.
So were there any angels, or it could have been in any
Oh
way?
yeah. I mean, my mom.
Okay.
My mom was she's a nurse for 45 years. So I was emotionally going through the experience and I didn't really have the bandwidth or the capacity. She was studying the novel. Like I have a book beside my bed that I still haven't read. Sorry, mom. When I was going through breast cancer, but she was like studying it. Um, my husband, I mean, we've got 3 children. My bonus child is older, but I've got 2 littles. They're now 10 and 11, but they would have been, what are we? They would have been 5 and 6 at that time. My little guy for the longest time couldn't hug me because I was always having surgery on my chest, right? So now he just comes in. Like this is 5 years later where we had to like rewire his brain that it's okay to hug mom, like she's not having surgery anymore. So I mean, there was an outpouring of people. Like I think for 6 weeks I got 5 deliveries a day. I'm not kidding. And the way that I viewed that, it wasn't a popularity thing. It was the investment that I make in people was fine. It was coming back to me when I needed it most. After 40 years of giving my heart and soul and loving on other people, when they found out I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I mean, people showed up from the out of the woodwork, saying you impacted me. I just want to bring you some food, or like it was quite. I feel even guilty sometimes sharing the magnitude of deliveries that started coming to the house, because I know there's some people that get the diagnosis and they're by themselves and they don't have the support network. So that, but that to me, when I think about how I live my life, was just a boomerang of what I've given it. So I received it and I received it. And I think that helped me on my healing journey. And that's why my cancer didn't spread and I was able to get in quickly. And, I had 6 surgeries, whatever, cut them off. They tried to kill me anyway, take it out, whatever you need. And then I could figure out the hormone stuff after. But I'm around to share my story and help someone else go through it, right?
Beautiful. And what about the books or the tape that you were listening to that made you see things in a different way? The help is good, but
Yeah.
be evolve as this firebrand.
You know what? I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. I love books. I did a lot of writing, my own writing. Yeah, I know. I love that. I actually, I've got a speaking event. I've got a couple speaking. I created this when I was off. So it's my Tiger Method playbook
Yes.
and mindset and resiliency development coach. But this being off during my surgery, I meditated and I wrote, and I felt like, and the reason why I don't have a specific book for you is because I was such a consumer of content that I wasn't listening to my own voice, and I needed a season of silence. I needed to shut out the noise and reconnect with myself. And I would get up and I would journal, and then I would meditate, and then I would journal what came up, and then I've always wanted to write. I started writing. Like I've got a couple, maybe 7 or 8 chapters written, and sometimes I would look up and be like, where did that come from? Like 8 pages would just fly out of me, and I felt like my voice was just screaming inside and I needed to get it out. So that season of silence for me was a journey back home, a journey back home to myself. And the book that I read was the book that I wrote, and that's what connected me to my younger self. Like I remember having meditations of a little girl crying in a corner. Like it makes me emotional when I think about it. I had to like look at her and be, you don't have to get angry. You don't have to, it makes me emotional. Because I think about what people go through and they try to fit in or be something that they're not. And really our beauty is in our uniqueness. And it gets me stuffed up because I think about how many people are walking around this life that feel shitty, or they don't feel full, or they don't feel loved or good enough or worthy. So the book that I wrote for myself was the best book that I've ever written because it healed me from the inside out. And now I get to share that truth with the world.
I'm not getting the words, but here I would ask, yes, let's let the tiger out. What?
Yeah, she's been caged inside for a long time
So
by
so
her
guy
own, by my own
so
doing.
guys, just an anecdote is that when I started working around with Janine, I was okay as a person. I would say, "Hi, Janine, how are you?" But there was something, a vibration within me, and said that seems to be kind of a tame name. And then one day, suddenly, out of the blue, when we were talking on the phone, I said, "I want to call you as the Tiger Lady or Janine the Tiger," and she said, "Yes, that's right. That's who I am." And I felt so much in place when I said that.
Yeah.
And so tell me about the Tiger method.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a personal development incubator. It's an invitation home to get to know yourself so that you can be in alignment and move towards the goal and the person that you always wanted to be. I've kind of been playing around with how I want to position it to the world. My TED talk is all around life's currency is showing up, but my grandpa called me Tiger growing up, and when he passed away in 2010, I remember I can see it vividly. I was driving home on the street, and the street goes a little bit down, and then I go up this big hill in Austin, Texas, and I remember getting a call from my father. Um, at those times, we were allowed to answer our phone in the car. So I answered it. Uh, and when he told me he passed, I ended up, instead of going back home, I went to a coffee shop. And I remember just filling this notebook, and the Tiger method came out of me. It literally just the first edition just flew out of me. And what's amazing is, so Tiger in the first edition, I mean, it's been through many rewrites, was transform your thinking, ignite your passion and purpose, goal setting, execute, and then revise. And it was like, oh, here's a little methodology that I can use. And people started asking me to speak. What's crazy though is that was the mindset. That was the mindset, Tiger. 2017, I go through bankruptcy, completely being unhealthy behind closed doors. I'm not working out. Here I am owning a fitness studio, but I'm so unhealthy on the other side. Like, just felt like a fraud. And when we have those, when we are disconnected from our outside world and our inside world, you create your own suffering. So what's interesting is the physical Tiger was created then. So it goes mind in 2010, my body 2017. And then when I went through breast cancer, the spiritual Tiger awakened, and I created an acronym for that. So I've got a couple different ways that I've approached it in different workshop settings, but it's been, that's why I think it's like the book that I read and wrote myself was the one that saved me. Um, and it's just it's a way to reconnect to my power, to be, have deep roots and not let adversity, like a deep tree with deep roots, and the wind comes,
Mhm.
bring it on. Give me what you got.
Uh, that gets me again. If you could say, so I can say T is transform, I is
Transform your
ignite,
think, yeah,
goal setting, uh,
execute.
execute, and revise.
Yeah. So think about it, like transform your thinking. Who are you listening to? What's your environment? What are you putting in? Because it's like food. The quality of the food you put in is the quality of the body you're going to get out. Same with our mind, right? Mental training. The I is igniting that passion or purpose. So, well, some people tell me when they feel stuck or not, and I'm like, well, what have you created lately? We're all creators. What have you done for yourself? Or, if you have a past passion of working with horses, just go for horseback riding. You don't have to work with a horse, just go horseback riding, reinvigorate that part of you. I do believe we all have that spark and that flame inside, and I want to reignite that spark in as many people as possible. The G is goal setting and growth mindset. We need that. And then the E is execute. So we could have these wonderful conversations. Thomas, you're an amazing human. I mean, we could talk forever, but if we don't take action, nothing changes, and we don't learn, we don't grow. And then the R could be, review and revise. Okay, maybe I learned this, but that's not where I really want to go. I actually did this, and it opened up this door. Now it's ignited a different passion. I've got a new goal. I'm going to test it out, and then I'm going to review. And you can go through the method as many times as you want. But it's constantly reevaluating, and being an athlete, that comes more naturally to me because you're constantly getting feedback. Then we do video replay. We're seeing where we made mistakes and how we can improve. And then we have a week at practice where we implement what we've learned. So athletes have been developing this skill set for a long time if you can take it and handle the heat, because you do get ragged on a lot.
Mhm.
But I did it with a smile and was like, okay, what else? Like, again, if you told me to, when I competed in a fitness show, I would have ran after a train if I lost 30 pounds in 8 weeks. Like, this woman was like, I didn't think it was at all possible, Janine. I was popping open like where I lived in Texas, there was a latch. The gym opened at 6, but I had to work out earlier in order to make sure I was there for my commitments and work. I flicked open the, like, on the
Alex,
window, and I would climb through the window just to jump on a treadmill to make sure I got my my reps in, and then I'd go off on my, and it wasn't really breaking and entering because it was on the condo where I live. So I just had to go in a little bit earlier. But nothing was going to stop me. No lock on a window, nor door. And I think as humans, we put a lot of roadblocks, mental roadblocks that prevent us from taking the right action by saying sorry, by taking responsibility, so that we can move relationships, people, and places around us into the direction that our goals and dreams want us to go. We can hear the voice, we can feel the spirit, but we don't have the courage to be true to him or her. And that's my call with the T.I.G.E.R method is you can be true to yourself and still have a wonderful life.
So that's what's been happening now. Let's go fast forward. What I know you got the book in the works. Of course, you are a very sought out speaker, so there's a lot of speaking edition. But are there some major elements that you're looking forward for either 2025, 2026? But apart from the book, what else is like really fueling you and getting you to the
The book would be a big one for me. I just couldn't imagine, like when you showed me your book, I got teary eyed for you because I can just imagine what it's going to be like to hold that in your hand because I know the work. This, when someone sees this, they might look at it, flip a few pages, and be like, oh, that's nice. That was a year of my life in that book. Right. So it's the process, it's the putting words on a page, but caring that it impacts the reader, not about me. So people that write get that because and that want to make an impact. They understand this isn't Janine's autobiography. This is how can I get my reader to move the needle in their life, which is what you were trying to achieve because you want to
yes,
help others, right?
yes,
Resilience and rise.
yes,
And how do we build resilience? It's that one extra rep, right? We build that mental
one
fortitude.
more, one extra, and consistently. That's
Yeah.
so true. Uh,
Well, consistent. It's funny. I get asked a lot about confidence with athletes, and people don't realize confidence is just a willingness to try. But before confidence comes competence. So how do we build competence? It's like my writing. I'm competent in my writing because I've written so much. It's the athletes, they do the reps, so they become competent in their athletic ability. So then they're confident, right? So and that builds resilience because you've done the work. You've filled your cup. No one can take that away from you. No
true.
one, no matter what happens in your life, as bad as it can get, you did that yourself. No one can take that away. And that's what I love about this work.
Fantastic. So here to the listeners, as I mentioned, is that do look into the comments because I will be putting out her links. Janine, a question which comes out, I was just being mindful of the time, is if you have to suggest, I'm not saying advice because I myself, I do not like advice, but if you have to suggest some things for, I would say, a person who's walking on the street or something, or people now that you have been a speaker, you're talking to, so they are not athletes, they don't have that mindset. For a lot of times when I'm in the space of coaching or when I'm talking to people, I realize people are existing, they are not living. So if you have to say something to them out, the challenge is what they have faced, or if they want to push the needle, move the needle would be more better, move the needle to the next level, or as the word which I always say in this particular book also, resilience, is that to ignite that flame which has now become just like a small ember.
Yeah.
What would you tell them? What is the thing that you would ask them to think or consider?
Well, there's two different there's the person that knows what they want and doesn't know how to achieve it, and then there's the person that has no idea what they want, so they don't know what direction they're going, right? So for the person who is like, I have no direction, Gene, I don't know what to do, just start with focusing on your body. Get in ridiculous shape because you're building trust, you're keeping a promise to yourself, you're building consistency, and it's something that you don't have to focus on. Start with your physical body, and along the way, you're going to create momentum. You're going to be able to sit down and write what it is that you would like to go after. Um, for somebody who knows the goal they want but doesn't know how to get there, let's take a look at where you're spending your time. And what are you in control of and what are you not? Because a lot of times we have excuses and actions, but it's like you have no control over that person, place, or thing. What do we have control over? Our time, where we put our energy, how we plan our days, what we give our attention to, who we listen to. We control our triggers, our actions. If I allow you to, if you've hurt my feelings and I get emotionally hijacked, that's on me. That's not on you. So emotional intelligence is something I spend a lot of time on when I
Okay,
am working with executive leadership teams, or because when we are self-aware, we can self-regulate, we can self-lead, and then we can be more compassionate to our neighbor and help them do the same by modeling the behavior that they're seeing. So there's a beautiful community approach when we, by showing up for ourselves, we inspire and elevate those around us. And in doing so, we can transcend our global village through this deeper connection to self. And start by journaling. If you don't have access to a gym, or you're like, Janine, I physically can't change anything, journal and a pen. Journal and a pen.
wonderful. Actually, my book, every chapter, 26 chapters, is all about journaling
Oh,
and
journaling is everything.
just being truthful to your own self. And that opens up, forget about windows, it opens up massive doors that you never even thought was present.
Yeah.
So that is, wow, Janine, thank you so very much. So very much. So, guys, what we saw was a, a brief look, but it was the raw, real blueprint. It was forged in the crucible of our own battles. It was not about being nice. She did say that she was a nice, just looking through the rose tinted glasses. But what I heard was a gut punch truth about transforming the trauma, and she did it into triumph. You heard about what a champion mindset is. As I started this conversation, it was honed on ice, but life gave her some of the most brutal challenges. What I heard was not just a story, it was a battle cry. With the Tiger, T.I.G.E.R method, which you have heard a little about. And again, I say in our website, there is a lot of information. It was a revelation. Janine, with this, thank you so very much for your space and time. Thank you. And let me just stop the recording.
Thank you for having me, Thomas.